Welcome to video tutorial number 8 on how to format notes and bibliography entries. If you haven't already done so, please look at video tutorial number 1, which shows you how to use the chapter template. Also, the next few videos in the series will tell you how to fix your fonts, your line spacing, how to indent properly, as well as how to insert notes into your text area. The first thing that we're going to do right now will be to navigate over to our website at www.Inter-Disciplinary.Net and navigate to where you will find the Chicago IDP Reference Guide. The full URL that you can simply copy and paste into your browser is located below this video in the video's description. Once you get to the Chicago IDP Referencing Guide, open it up on your desktop and we're going to walk through it, and I'm going to show you how the reference guide works. Down here on page 3 of the guide, you will see the table of contents. This is an interactive guide, which means that you can click anywhere on one of these titles and it'll take you to that area of the guide. Click again on the title of that page and it'll take you back to the table of contents. There are several types of references that you may use when you are directly quoting someone or paraphrasing another author's work. So we're going to take a look at a few of these so I can show you how to properly use this guide to help you to format those notes and bibliography entries correctly. Let's take a look at an article in a journal. Let's say you have used a quote from an article and you now need to cite that reference in the notes section of your chapter. So let's navigate down to an article in a journal. And at the top of this article, you'll see that there are some certain rules that must be followed for articles. And it says, when citing an article that appears in a journal, the page numbers for direct quotes and page number ranges of the article for paraphrased or see for instance types of references are required in both notes and bibliography sections. If you are using a direct quote from a journal article, you need to include the exact page that you found it on. So let's take a look at the actual note. In your notes section, if you're referencing a journal article, the first thing that is going to happen in your notes section with journal article references, as well as any other kind of note, is the author's name will appear first. In the notes section, the author's first name always goes first. It's always followed by the surname, and the surname is always followed by a comma. Again, this is true of all notes. First name, surname, and a comma. Of course, there is a middle initial in this one, and that is fine. The next thing that will appear is the title of the journal article. Please notice that the title of the journal article will sit inside of single quotation marks. And regardless of how it appears in the version of the article that you saw, you will need to properly capitalize the title of the journal article for your note entry. So again, the title is going to sit inside of single quotation marks. If any of the words inside are emphasized using quotation marks, you're going to use double quotation marks for those words or little phrases. Follow it by a comma, and here's your closing quotation mark, then a space. The title of the journal will be in italics. The title of the journal is not followed by any punctuation. The next thing that will appear is the volume number. Following the volume number should be the issue number if there is one. Sometimes you will only find a volume number and no issue number. But if you have a volume number and issue number, please separate them simply with a full stop. The next thing that will appear is a single space. Then the date of publication of the journal goes inside of parentheses. Next is a colon that directly follows the closing parenthesis mark. After that will be one space, and followed by either the page number that a direct quote is found on, or the page range if you're paraphrasing information out of a journal article. The second time that you use a journal, the same journal reference, as long as it's not directly following the same note, we use what's called the shortened version. And what that means is you simply use the author's surname followed by a comma and a short title of the article itself that will sit inside of single quotation marks. It's closed with a comma, then a space, and then the page number that you find that direct quote on. If you are now paraphrasing from the same article, please include the entire page range. The bibliography entry for this particular type of reference, and with all bibliography entries, this is going to be true. The surname always goes first, is followed by a comma, then the author's first name, and in this case there's a middle initial. Follow that by a full stop and no other punctuation. As you will see in this example, there's the author's surname, followed by a comma, the first name, and then a full stop. The journal article title will sit inside of single quotation marks. There will be a full stop at the end instead of a comma. And then this information is the same. The journal article appears in italics. There's no punctuation after. There's the volume number, a space, then the date of the journal and a colon. And then in the bibliography, you're always going to use the page range of the entire article. Now, since we've looked at this one particular type of reference, let me show you how this particular guide can help you with all styles of referencing. What you'll need to do is pay attention to how the author's name appears. Again, in notes, always first. Pay attention to the punctuation and how the punctuation appears. If in this particular type of entry you see that it's a comma, then in your chapter you're going to use a comma. If something is sitting inside of quotation marks and is followed by a comma, that's what you're going to do with your entry in your paper. Let's move on down to a different type of entry. Let's say we have a chapter in an edited volume. We're going to use this the same way we used it for the journal article. You know that a note needs the author's first name to go first, then the middle initial, then the last name and a comma. If you will simply follow the punctuation rules and the capitalization rules, remember we talked about all titles must be capitalized in the chapter. If you follow all of these rules and simply place punctuation as it shows up in the examples, then you're not going to have any problem formatting your chapter's notes and bibliography entries. Each section may also have a little more information on things that have to show up. Let's see. Classical references, for instance, we're going to show you here. If you'll just read this information, it'll show you that they're allowed in the text body area with page, line, etc. inside of parentheses. It's actually the only type of reference that we allow in the text body area in parentheses. But if you'll read further down, you'll also see that classical references do not need to be included in the bibliography. So whatever type of referencing that you're going to use, article in a journal, article in a magazine, emails that you may have exchanged with someone, reviews, in-volume references, which means you're referencing another author in the same book, the one that you are appearing in, one of our volumes, a film, a blog entry, any type of information that that you need to include. If you'll simply follow the punctuation rules and the capitalization rules that you see on these examples, you'll have no trouble formatting your notes and bibliography sections. The last thing that you need to remember is that bibliographies need to appear below the notes section. Please note that this one is not formatted correctly, so don't use this as your example as far as the actual reference itself. But it is formatted correctly in that there is a single line between them. And one thing that you'll also need to do is make sure that your bibliography entries appear in alphabetical order by the surname. Now, we do allow you to also include extra reading material in your bibliography section, but we ask that you keep it to a reasonable amount. We really need to see all the entries that appear in the notes section, but if you want to include another 5 or 10 reference pieces in your bibliography entry or bibliography section, that is perfectly fine. And that concludes this particular video tutorial, number 8, on formatting notes and bibliography entries. In the next tutorial, we will talk about capitalization rules. And the last video tutorial in the series, number 10, will be about proofreading your chapter. Thank you very much for watching this video tutorial.